Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tex Messages Resurrected. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We're glad to have you here this evening. Today happens to be the 35th anniversary of probably one of the better movies ever made, called Terms of Endearment. One of the critical aspects of the storyline is that an individual succumbs to a disease prior to the natural cycle of their expected living period of time. So obviously the show is mostly health related, so we're just going to go ahead and get into some topics that are directly attributed to not only your health, but your community's health and family's health and all that too. Now the other day I came across an article, naturalnews.com. The article was titled, Big Pharma's Top 12 Breadwinners, for not only to keep people sick and perhaps even dumbed down and dependent and addicted, but also to drive profits, which is ultimately, as a corporation, you're legally obligated to profit. Now, if I start a business, am I legally obligated to profit off of it? Not necessarily. But if you run a corporation and say the shareholders sue you, if you're not doing everything you can to gain a profit, they're going to win. That's just the reality, ladies and gentlemen. You could say it's a broken law system, a criminal system, a broken business system, broken morals, you name it, it's probably broken. Or at least has a schism, a crack, whatever the case may be. So getting back to this initial article, I had to make sure I had my glasses today so that I could read most of this nonsense. Well, the article itself is very, very sensible. Big 12's top 12 health, big pharma's, not like a college football league, Big 12. Talking big pharma's top 12 health crippling breadwinners. Number 1, artificial colors from industrialized petroleum companies that can potentially cause hyperactivity and cancer. Now, if you buy some food, this isn't just food coloring that you get in your pantry or whatever. If you buy any type of food, you're going to see, you can look on the label, and it might say color 5, color 6, and there might also be random ingredients here and there that you're not really sure why it's there. Caramel color, for example. There was one time a while back, Aldi had this deal where they said that they were going to remove all artificial food colorings inside their product, and then their box of cereal had caramel color on it, and it's like, caramel doesn't seem to be a naturally occurring chemical compound in a natural environment, and it's artificial, but apparently it's met some type of standards and requirements to where they could insert it in, even while advertising, removing all artificial food colorings. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it is important to read the ingredient list. Sometimes the ingredient list isn't always going to shoot you straight either. I'll shoot you straight. I'll shoot you sideways, up, down, all around. But food manufacturers, they don't always shoot you straight. They do what they're required to do, and that's pretty much that. Very rarely are they going to volunteer to go above and beyond the call of duty as required by federal, state, community, municipal law, whatever the case may be. A few few other dangerous chemicals that can find their way into our food supply. Hexane, monosodium glutamate, and one of them, as far as meats, is ammonia. And ammonia is placed in the meats because if it wasn't, it would be succumb to a lot of bacterial or viral infections. So the ammonia acts as a preservative and a neutralizer to those particular substances. And then of course you have artificial sweeteners, aspartame, sucralose. Now, the idea behind artificial sweeteners is that they replace the sugar without the caloric intake. But the fact is that they're just not as well researched. I mean, yeah, you can say aspartame has millions of dollars of research that's went into it, and it's considered perfectly safe by so-and-so independent research, third party, this, that, and the other thing. But I mean, if you're eating something that's not entirely recognized by your body as a form of energy, it's probably just not a good idea. When you think of food quality, if you look at something like a bag of cashews, 1 pound will have roughly 3,000 calories. So you think, well, 1 pound is equivalent to 3,500 calories. So that only means that there's, 1/7 of a pound that's actually garbage material. So if a manufacturer's putting all these goofy fillers in, you might get honey-crusted aspartame, sucralose, rat poison infested cashew-covered or coated cashews, and a pound of that might only have 2,000 calories. So then the additional 1,500 is just all garbage that your body won't really do anything with. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that, of course there are still vitamins and minerals that your body will, and fiber too. Fiber doesn't count towards calories. Those are also important and critical components that your body sucks in onto itself. When it gets in the large intestines, small intestines, and even when it gets in your throat, the saliva starts breaking that stuff down. So your body will take up the vitamins and minerals that it feels are needed and necessary to run at your optimal level to make yourself great again. One of the biggest villains of food coloring are the white foods. Most of them are bleached, sometimes with titanium dioxide. If you look at an Oreo, it's nice and white, it's shiny, it probably glows in the dark, it might even be radioactive. If you look at the ingredient list, it says right there, titanium dioxide. Now, when you hear of antioxidants, or so-and-so food is healthy because it gets rid of antioxidants, think of titanium dioxide as a pro-oxidant, because once you strip the titanium from it, then it's just got the oxides, the oxygen, 2 oxygen cells, whatever the case may be, the diatomic oxygen. So that creates the free radicals in your body, which ultimately probably cause cancer, like the germs of a demon person. So if you see oxide, ammonium oxide, titanium dioxide, it's usually not something that may be the best idea to consume, or at least look into it a little bit further. Carbon dioxide, yeah, for plants is beneficial and all that good fun stuff. But for humans, titanium dioxide, not the best thing. It is one of those things where they'll spray on your teeth and then they'll do an x-ray on it, and the reason why they spray it on your teeth is because it has reflective properties. So then what they're looking for, like if they want to outline a shape for creating a crown or something like that, they'll spray titanium dioxide, take a picture of it. The titanium dioxide creates much reflective properties that they can just input that directly into the computer. The computer will know exactly how to trace the crown right there on the spot. It's called a CEREC machine, CEREC. And if you ever get a crown, which hopefully you never have to, but some of us do, that's ultimately what they use. Getting on to Big Pharma's top 12 health crippling breadwinners. Number 2, vaccines. It's a hard-hitting topic. I haven't really done much research in it. I just avoid them. It just doesn't make any sense to inject directly artificial ingredients into your body. Not only are you bypassing the filtration systems that are put into place, even if something tastes bad, you know that you probably shouldn't be eating it. Yeah, you got antifreeze, which tastes sweet and sour, and if you eat that, then you're going to be singing the Shadowgate theme. But ultimately, if you taste something that's not good, your body is not going to create the saliva glands to break it down, and you're going to want to spit it out. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that food that tastes good is healthier. It just means that it's the first of a long chain of filtration devices that your body deals with to get rid of things. So if you just inject things directly into your body, you bypass those systems, and you're just relying on, it could be any kind of fallacious science. You just don't really know. Number 3, ADD, ADHD medication. Pretty much anybody who consumes fast-burning energy, sugars, for example, carbohydrates, a lot of carbohydrates and vegetables, other than maybe like peas and carrots, are pretty slow-burning. So those are probably safer. The glycemic index, just look at that, and there's a number on there that says how fast they burn. So anyone who eats a lot of sugars and high fructose corn syrup, things of that nature, and artificial food colorings, which are known to cause hyperactivity, if they consume a lot of that and then they're put into this environment where they are supposed to sit at a desk for hours a day or sit at work for hours a day on a computer, yeah, I mean, you're going to find it difficult to focus and to concentrate. So, I mean, everything comes down to diet. If you have a very poor diet, yeah, all of a sudden you're going to be depressed. You're going to go on those March for Life walks about mental health and all this other stuff, and it comes down to diet. I mean, yeah, we all got sensitivities to certain things and all that too, but diet is critical. I cannot stress that enough, ladies and gentlemen. Number 4, amalgam-filled teeth. Now this goes for any type of teeth fillings. Ceramic, the plastics, amalgam, gold, silver, whatever the case may be. You're introducing artifacts into your mouth. It's always going to be in your mouth, until they fall out or until you actually inadvertently swallow them or something like that. So they're going to off-put, the plastics off-put the, bisphenol A, the amalgams offset mercury and mercury fumes and all that stuff too. So when that gets in your body, gets in your brain, it causes a lot of deleterious effects. Definitely not effects you want to deal with, ladies and gentlemen. Number 5, unnecessary surgery, tonsil removal, deviated septum, wisdom teeth, gallbladder. Wisdom teeth occurs as a result that your jaw is not big enough. See, if you smile normally and your back jaw is behind your front teeth, it means your jaw is too small. Most people have that issue that are on a Western diet, or people that just didn't eat enough calories as they were children, or maybe they weren't breastfed long enough, or they just eating sugar and garbage for most of their life, so they never developed enough calcium to build up their jaw. So that's just something that happens. And then, I mean, you got to think about it though. I mean, if everybody's getting their wisdom teeth removed, it has to be a widespread, nationwide, community-wide problem. Just because everybody's getting their wisdom teeth removed doesn't mean it's a natural thing and that they're just put there for no reason whatsoever. It just means that everybody is dealing with the same health issues. So, and then of course, appendix 2, that's another thing. I had that done when I was really young. 2 years later, some mysterious reason gangrene festered, so I had to remove a whole bunch of intestines too. Not a fun experience, and it's certainly something you live with. It's basically something you live with pretty much the rest of your life. Yeah, you could say if you're irresponsible at 5 years old, eating sugar and crap all the time, yeah, it is kind of your fault. But I mean, ultimately, you have to look at other societal factors as well. And I mean, if you continue to make bad choices when you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 65, 67, it's totally on you. Because by then, the research, knowledge is out there. It's just a matter of whether you want to follow it or whether you want to follow the herd, depending on where they're going. Over-the-counter medications, they're full of fillers to spice up the flavor and everything too. And they may even cause hyperactivity and things of that nature as well. I mean, if they got all the sugars in and junk like that, it's just, it's another one of those artificial ingredients that, at least if you're taking things orally, you are still going through some of the preventative measures if there are bad things in them that your body can deal with. But if you're injecting things, you're kind of on your own then. Even under the tongue, that's pretty direct in your bloodstream too. So if you're doing something under the tongue, you definitely want to be careful. A while back when I ate chocolate, that was prior to taking an ALCAT test and claiming that I was highly allergenic to it. I used to just melt it underneath my tongue because I figured, hey, I get the caffeine directly in my bloodstream, get the energy, and should be a good time. But maybe that wasn't such a good idea to do it. Perhaps maybe that's what caused the allergy. The intolerance is what the ALCAT test actually tests for. Aspirin a day hoax, that's number 7 on Big Pharma's top 12 health crippling breadwinners. If you take pills like that all the time, it's going to clog your liver, kidney, and pancreas and lead to a failure of vital organs. Pancreas is very important for creating insulin if you eat carbohydrates. You need to create the insulin to offset the blood sugar. And a lot of people later on in life develop type 2 diabetes, which is the body's inability to process the insulin. But it can also be the body's inability to produce the insulin. A lot of type 1 diabetics, that's usually what that is considered. You can't produce the insulin. But a lot of people, type 1 diabetes is mostly developed at an earlier age, type 2 at a later age. So if you're taking a bunch of silly pills or even eating fortified vitamins and minerals that just clog up your liver, kidneys, and pancreas, those systems aren't going to work as well as you'd hope. And then next thing you know, you're asking your family members to donate you a kidney. And most of your family members are dealing with their own problems too, so they're probably not going to be able to donate a kidney. The good thing about the liver, though, is the liver is one of those organs where it can regenerate completely. But of course, you have to make monumental changes in a life. If you've gotten to the point over time where your liver is broken down and it's a shell of what it used to be, then you certainly have to make some pretty large changes. You start making incremental changes to lead to bigger changes. And that's just how all things work. If you want to lift big weights, you got to start with small weights. If you want to be good at writing computer programs, then you start with basic and work up to assembly, then C++, and then go. But yeah, you start small, work up, work big, stay motivated and dedicated. That's the other thing too, when you make dietary changes too, you don't really notice the changes immediately. The placebo effect is in play, but for the most part, there are vacillations. I mean, if you go to a ketogenic diet, 2 months later, you might eat bad salad for a week and get E. coli and think, oh man, this ketogenic diet is terrible. I got sick from it. But I mean, it's very important when you make changes to stick with them for a very long time. Now, if you're walking, if you're doing those mental health marches and everything of that nature too, it's probably a good idea to evaluate that and to make long-term changes. Not just to see things 24 hours from now, but 24 months from now. I mean, last September, 14 months ago, I began not full ketogenic, but it was 5 days a week and then 2 days a week sort of loading up on carbohydrates. Completely changed my neurological system. Pretty much rewrote everything. Does that mean I'm an entirely different person? My cell structure as far as physical appearance is completely deviated from what it used to be? Not necessarily. But it certainly has changed thought processes in general, which I would have never expected. See, what I initially wanted to do was called the anabolic diet. What my initial plan is I'll do the anabolic diet, build up some bulk so that it holds the spinal cord in place and all your other joints too to alleviate any joint pain. Rather than taking all the anti-inflammatories or opioid painkillers and things of that nature, I decided to take the natural route of taking up a new diet. And the whole mental clarity or whatever you call it, neurological change that the ketogenic diet occurred, or that the ketogenic diet fostered within me, was something that I completely did not expect. Which is why I think it's more legitimate, because if I would have expected it to change, possibly the placebo effect would be into play, and then I wouldn't be able to say definitively whether it did or not. But I mean, pretty much anyone out there that has mental health issues absolutely should at least give the ketogenic diet a try. Because I mean, if you look at me on paper, just some loser that lives out in the middle of nowhere and doesn't really hang out with people, there's really no reason why I would have good mental health. But based on the diet and just being an overall productive person, that goes miles and miles ahead of a life that would look good on paper, but you are eating a bad diet and creating a lot of poor health choices, or taking opioid painkillers, and being addicted to cigarettes or things of that nature too. So the whole "you are what you eat" motto, absolutely true, 100%. I'm not going to sit here and dispute anybody who claims that. But the food pyramid, a lot of that could be nonsense. I mean, if you're allergic to dairy or intolerant to dairy, the food pyramid, you pretty much had to throw that away. And the breads and everything too, I mean, those, especially nowadays, how bread is made with all the fillers. I mean, if you look at a bread, one day we made some hummus, and I was like, well, we kind of need bread to eat this with. So we went down to the grocery store, and I looked at the bread, and there's about 30 different ingredients on there. I'm thinking, well, it's bread. You get flour, you mix it up with some yeast, it rises up, you bake it, and you eat it. But apparently if you buy it from the manufacturer or from a grocery store, it's got all the different fillers in it, which who knows what they do. But just a good idea to avoid it, ladies and gentlemen. Blood thinners depletes nutrients in the body. It's pretty obvious why. Your blood transfers all the vitamins and minerals to the parts of your body that needs it. Think of it like a semi. A semi truck is blood. It transports its goods to all the businesses that need it. So if you thin a semi truck and take half its load away, it's only going to transfer half the nutrients that the businesses need. Cholesterol. Cholesterol is not, I mean, yeah, some people are more sensitive to it than others. In all facets of sickness, that's valid. But I mean, somebody who's eating sausages, deli meats, the burnt oils, canola oil, or vegetable shortening, and then they somehow have high cholesterol, it's probably not due to genetic or hereditary. And there's really no reason to take any drugs to lower the cholesterol. It's probably the best idea to not eat garbage. And cholesterol turns into testosterone, which for males is a very, I guess you could say it's a good thing to have. I mean, it's what distinguishes males from females. Not saying females are bad. It's just what, usually males want to have a healthy level of testosterone. If you don't have a healthy level of testosterone, your muscles atrophy, and then your joints start to hurt, and you got a lot of pain, and things just get out of control, and your life is very low quality. High blood pressure medications. I mean, that's another thing too. If you got clogged arteries and they measure certain parts of your bloodstream and it's a higher blood pressure, or they just do whatever diastolic or astolic measurements. I mean, if you got high blood pressure, look at your diet. Opium-based painkillers. Most painkillers are derived from heroin. I mean, if you look at Prince, one of the greatest musicians in Minnesota, who actually did the synthesizers for one of the best songs ever, Stand Back, by Stevie Nicks, he was taking fentanyl, which is obviously everybody's heard of that by now. It's extremely dangerous, addictive, and he died from it. He wasn't a very old guy either. Yeah, he probably lived a pretty busy lifestyle, but for the most part, taking heroin-based painkillers, probably not the best idea. Basically, probably any painkillers. Apparently CBD oil, which is a cannabis-based oil, is something that somebody may want to look into. Apparently it's not such a bad thing. I haven't personally done it. I haven't really needed pain relief lately. Seems like just getting rid of most of the carbohydrates, has pretty anti-inflammatory properties, so that makes a big difference. And lastly, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor drugs. Basically all the school shooters and just mass shooters in general have been on SSRI drugs. That's something that you see over and over again when you look at the people who advocate against it. And yeah, I mean, it messes with your serotonin and your dopamine, which is essentially what your brain needs to regulate your sleep patterns and mood and anxiety, all that stuff. So when you try to start going in there and artificially manipulating things of that nature, it's going to cause a ruckus, and you're going to go through a roller coaster ride of emotions, ups and downs. Everybody has ups and downs every single day and every single week and month and everything like that too. A lot of it is attributed to sickness, a lot of it is attributed to extraneous life variables, but for the most part, we all deal with it. So those are the 12 health-crippling breadwinners. Just to run through them all. Things you want to avoid: artificial colors, hexane, MSG, ammonia, artificial sweeteners, white foods, vaccines, ADHD medication, amalgam-filled teeth, unnecessary surgery, OTC meds, aspirin a day, blood thinners, cholesterol meds, high blood pressure meds, opium-based painkillers, SSRI. If you avoid all them 12 things, ladies and gentlemen, you won't be the star of Terms of Endearment. Now that being said, hopefully I was able to get this message across. Now, we don't always get serious on text messages, ladies and gentlemen, but today I felt it was absolutely 100% necessary. And hopefully this message can at least allow more clarity or a more lucid vision of where you can be and where you need to be just based on dietary choices. So thank you very much for listening, and we will be back soon.